Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Mayorga, and this is the last little video that I'm doing about toxic relationships. And we're going to discuss the last three behaviors. And if you'll notice that all of these behaviors kind of overlap. And so the last three we're going to talk about is controlling behavior, walking on eggshells, and then neglected needs. The controlling behavior, of course, is what the person that engages in toxic behavior is doing in the relationship. Now, I think we can understand that all of us have a need to control, especially when we're afraid or maybe when there's a crisis going on, someone's got to take control. Um, or a high need to always be right. And it's difficult to let that control go. And I want to preface this by saying that somebody that has engages in toxic behavior, I talked about this last week. I talked about there being some emotional and psychological abuse, but not necessarily physical abuse, although abuse is abuse. All right. But one thing that I think I want you to think about is that somebody that has a toxic personality or engages consistently in this type of behavior is not even aware that they're engaging in this kind of behavior. So let's take the next one that I want to talk about, which is controlling behavior. I know of a lot of people, and at one time or another, you, me, everybody else will act in a controlling behavior. And again, it may be because they're feeling afraid, and they'll say it. I just need to be in control right now because I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling out of control, or I'm feeling scared about the situation. I know of someone that shares with their significant other that when they're having a lot of anxiety, they need to be able to tell people what to do because it gives them a sense of control because they're feeling so out of control because of their anxiety. But in this situation, with someone that's engaging in toxic behavior this way, it's all the time. Let's give you an example. You and your partner have decided that you're going to go to the movies. And it doesn't have to be a significant other. It can be a friendship. It can be a colleague. It can be another person that is in your life the majority of the time. And they always seem to have the last word. It's a good way of explaining it. A controlling behavior in a toxic relationship is about having the last word. And everybody, let's say you're in a group, and then there's that one person that will say, "Well, where do we want to go eat?" And everybody gives suggestions, and then, "Hey, this is a great one." But at the end, this person's the one that always makes the final decision. Even if the other people say, "No, I really don't want to go eat there," well, that's too bad. We're going to go there, and that's the way it's going to be. And I think all of us can look back and know of somebody like that we've been around. Now, let's take it a little closer into a significant other where you get into the car and you've decided that you're going to go to eat dinner. And you've gone back and forth, and the your significant other who's engages a high level of times in toxic behavior has asked you where you want to go, and you've given them where you want to go, and they change their mind, or they say, no, we're going to go over here. And no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Or they, if you try to say, but I thought, they'll give you 1,000 reasons why it would be better to go over there. And that's why I say that they're not necessarily being abusive, but they're very, very convinced that this would be the better place to go. And that's that high need of control and disregard your thoughts, feelings, and ideas. And again, one of the things that we need to remember, which I think is important, last week I talked about abuse and that being a concern with a toxic relationship. But most of the time, this kind of toxic behavior, they're not even aware that they are engaging in toxic behavior. They don't see it that way. Uh, Deciding where to go eat or where to go to the movies or where to go on vacation or where to go, to them, in their mind, it's that it's the better way to go. It's like you get in the car and you've decided that you're going to go to the mall and you're driving, and a toxic personality has a very hard time sitting in the passenger side because they need to be able to be controlling of their environment and of the person, and because it's for the best. I've had people say to me, well, I just want the best for you. And so you get to the corner and you're going to go to the left to go to the mall, and they want you to go to the right. And if you turn to the left, they're going to tell you that you should have turned to the right. The word should and should not is in their vocabulary a lot, right? All of us have that kind of words in our vocabulary, but a toxic personality, they're adamant that their way is the best way. And they're not really thinking that they're harming you per se, but that that's the best thing for everybody. That comes with the controlling behavior. Uh, they I think I shared about another couple where the one of the significant other wanted to know where the person was all the time, and for them, their what they would share would be that they just needed to know. It made them feel better to know where his significant other was. Where are you? Are you okay? This one particular person, if there was a and this is and this is what I'm talking about, that they're not necessarily trying to be abusive per se. They really in their minds think that they're trying to protect you. I'm just talking about the controlling behavior in this particular situation. If there was a report that there was a 20% chance of rain when the significant other was getting ready to go to work or go on a trip or go out of town for the day, there's just no way you can't go because it's going to rain. And then if it rains, if you've heard of the word catastrophizing, all right, toxic personalities tend to catastrophize with this controlling behavior. It's for your own good. There's a storm coming. It could get slick. You could have an accident. You could do this. I'm gonna, and then they'll call you every 15 minutes to see where you are. How come you haven't gotten home yet? When will you be home? So there's a lot of dynamics here that we also have to be aware of. When we're talking about toxic behavior, and we're just seeing it with one lens rather than a full lens, then we're going to say, oh my gosh, controlling behavior, they want to control everything. But if we step back a little bit and understand what somebody with a toxic personality, the reasons behind it, which then would require for them to be in therapy, understand, to be able to begin to change that toxic behavior. That's how come recognizing that we have these little nuances of types of behaviors that are called toxic some of the time is kind of normal for all of us at one time or another, because things have happened in our lives and it arises out of that. But when it's consistent, then the next best thing for that person who really wants to become self-aware and change is to go work with somebody that is a professional, so that it can be done in a way that won't create a tremendous amount of anxiety and angst in the person as they begin to change their behavior and improve the ability to have a good, healthy relationship. Okay, so that's the controlling behavior. And the next one is the walking on eggshells, which is, again, let's just use the analogy or the metaphor, walking on eggs. I mean, come on, if you stepped on an egg, poof, it's gone. But eggshells, you ever tried to do an Easter egg with an eggshell, and you have to be very, very careful. It's very fragile, and you're coloring it, and poof, it breaks. And the eggshells, if you crush, it becomes a powder form, so that then it doesn't have any substance. I mean, how can you color a powdery type of eggshell? Well, it's the same thing when we use this term in a toxic relationship. You're walking on eggshells. It's impossible. They're going to crack. Something's going to give. And so, what do? We either stay off of the eggshells, or we're very, 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 very cautious, but it never really works. You're going to crack it anyway. And what's going to happen? There's going to be some kind of a conflict. There's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some disagreement. Something is going to happen. So the person that's in a toxic relationship will then tend to try to do whatever is possible not to crack the eggshells, to tread lightly is another word that I would think. You're going to, there's a good word, you're hypervigilant. Mm, you know how the day is going to go today. And you engage in a conversation, you're watching, watching, watching. Have you ever been hypervigilant 24/7? Think of, I know this is probably a harsh one for me, but think about somebody that is a battleground who's having to watch. You mean your head's got to turn 380 degrees so that you can watch everything. And that's the way it is when you're engaged in a toxic relationship. If I say this, is it going to do this? If I go this way, is it going to do that? And it's an exhausting way of living. So if you believe that you're walking on eggshells all the time, think about you ever in a job. Yeah, yeah, I don't want to go to work. The boss is going to be in today, and oh my gosh, I'm going to have to watch what I do, say. They'll be watching over my shoulder 24/7. So that's the way it is when you're engaged in a toxic relationship with colleagues or a significant other or with friends. I wonder how it's going to go. You begin to withdraw. You begin to not want to engage. You become a yes person. You lose yourself, and that's not a very healthy way to exist. Not a very healthy. It's just not a healthy way to exist. So this leads into the last one, which is neglecting your needs. You give up who you are to keep the peace. Okay? And you begin to erase yourself. I use a diagram when I work with couples, all right, who come in again, believe it or not, that two people marry, two circles, and you know, you become one, right? So when you look at the two circles and you use that analogy of becoming one of the circles has to disappear. And who is that going to be the one to disappear? You give yourself up. Now, I'm a believer in marriage. I'm a believer in working together. I am all of that. But I do believe that in relationships, it's two circles that overlap. Okay, let's see if I can do this like this. And there's times when this circle is bigger and times when it's smaller, and depending on what's going on. But you keep who you are, and then you create together as a couple who you are. I'll give you an example. My husband's a golfer. Oh boy, he loves to golf. I love to go thrifting and antiquing, and that's my thing. Sometimes I've been to golf with him. I'll write the card, I'll read stuff like that's not my thing. I can't see myself driving around in a little cart for 4 hours. To me, that's a waste of time. But I do it because my circle gets smaller and his bigger because I want to give that to him. Same thing when I go thrifting or antiquing. He'll go with me. He'll walk in. He'll walk around the building 5 minutes. Then he says, I'm going to the car and I'll be waiting for you. Okay, so his circle got small and mine's got bigger because he gave that to me. But we still have kept those activities apart. Um, I'll I'll go thrifting by myself. He didn't have to go with me. And he goes to play golf every Sunday or every other Sunday or something. You learn to uh, grow and keep who you are as part of enhancing the relationship. I read a lot, but I share a lot. Okay. I also get involved in knowing about sports because he likes the football, golf, so we can have a conversation. And somebody has told me one time, well, you know a lot about sports. And I said, well, because my husband loves sports and we can have a conversation. But I'm not at the football games. I don't sit to watch the football games. I'll glance at them. So you see what I'm saying is that we're not neglecting our personal needs and giving ourselves up completely. And I see this happen sometimes with couples or even in relationships with friends. I knew of somebody that had a friendship for a long time. gave themselves up completely to keep this friend happy. And that can be very destructive. So again, what is going on in your relationship that is mm, that you've decided? Now there's a difference. I can decide to give up my needs completely. Nobody asked me. I've done it out of my own free will. I love it. It makes me feel great. I don't have any animosity. I'm not exhausted. I'm not tired. I don't blame anybody. It's my thing, right? But if that's not how you're feeling, and you were a person that you still have to go to plays, and you haven't been to a play in a year because the person that you're engaging with doesn't like plays at all and doesn't want you to go to plays. So you've given that up again to keep the peace. And so that is all the different types of behavior, these 7 behaviors that you will see in someone that is a toxic personality. Now, to finish this off, the 2 types of people that are drawn uh, to people with toxic personalities are people that are empathic or have a lot of empathy, and people that are people pleasers, right? So you've got to determine if any of this fits you consistently in the over the 3 weeks that I've been doing this videos, and you each of this behavior is something that's created a little red flag for you, then you might want to examine, do you have a tendency to always want to please other people? I did. I did a video on external and internal locus of control. And so if we're a people pleaser, we have an external locus of control where we're looking for approval or people to say that we're doing the right thing, or and somebody to pat us on the back, and we get our recognition from others. And so if to be empathic or empathetic, there's nothing wrong with that. I have to be that way with my clients. I am very empathic. I have a lot of empathy, but to be able to separate it and know when to use it appropriately is important. People pleaser, I call that another word for that would also be a fixer upper. You see somebody in need, maybe you're drawn to somebody that looks lonely, or you have a lot of sympathy for them. And there's a difference between being um, empathic or having empathy and then being sympathetic. And that's a whole other different video. So think about it, not for any other reason than this is knowledge that you're gaining and getting to understand it. You're not going to rush out there and determine that everything is toxic, but it helps to be able to recognize it not only in others, but in ourselves, right? I could say that my issue when I was younger was the need for control. I couldn't be in the passenger side. I had to be in the driver's side, and letting go of that and recognizing how it was detrimental to my relationships, all the way from with my significant other to and other situations. I also tended to neglect needs of others, and that also created a problem. So anyway, if we examine ourselves, we'll find that at one time or another we've had these kinds of behaviors. But recognition and self-awareness will help us make a change so that we don't end up harming someone else, and in the long run harming ourselves. Because if we are toxic, and I really don't like that word because it sounds like it's poison, but what it really is indicating is that there's something here that is not positive and could be looked at so that it could change in a way that could be helpful rather than harmful. So, anyway, that ends this little series of the toxic relationship. And Thank you very much. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Thank you.